In June, we set out to hike the Camino de Costa Rica route across Central America. A 280-kilometer walk from one end of the country to the other, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. We chose to do this in a self-supported fashion without hiring a guide or tour company. So that left us with a bit of logistics to figure out ourselves instead of having someone to do it for us. Most people who do this hike hire a tour company, and there are quite a few of them out there. The first of those logistical problems was getting to a very remote location in a foreign country just to begin our journey. We flew from Miami, Florida to San Jose for about $80, and then proceeded to take 3 separate public buses and a boat to arrive at our starting location. A small community on the Caribbean called Parismina is where we take our first real steps along this route. Just south of the popular Tortuguero National Park, these beaches are known for the sea turtles which nest here, from the green to the leatherbacks. In the dark of night, you could find these turtles coming ashore to lay eggs before returning back to the ocean. This is the Atlantic Ocean, and we are hiking the Camino de Costa Rica, and we are hiking mar a mar, or ocean to ocean, sea to sea. So starting at the Atlantic, and we will hike to the Pacific. So in just a few days, or a week, or 10 days, we will be at the Pacific Ocean, and we will have crossed Costa Rica by foot. And maybe at least this section by boat, but that's typical. Mar a mar, Camino de Costa Rica. This is a hike unlike anything I have personally ever done before. Comparing to the Pacific Crest Trail or the Appalachian Trail, those trails were mostly wilderness experiences. You spend days in the mountains, far away from towns, camping alone in the woods, without cell service and without other people. Everything you need to survive you must carry for months on end in your backpack. El Camino de Costa Rica, by comparison, is very different. And the experience isn't about the wilderness, like those others. The experience instead is about the community, the culture, and the people along the way. El Camino is about visiting these small villages and towns and getting to know Costa Rica from a much different perspective than most tourists would ever get. I feel that comparing the locations that this route takes you to some of the more touristy locations within the country, it is a night and day kind of experience. El Camino gives you solitude and a way to be on the inside, to eat real food, to see real places, and to experience a more real Costa Rican way of life. From the farms to the small communities, the families, the bird and animals. So he's just eating right now?
No, right now he's just scratching.
Okay.
Just hanging out right now.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah, really Maybe.
Maybe he already went to eat a little bit now.
Yeah, leaf.
Leaves, yeah. That's what she's doing right now.
Uh-huh.
See that movie?
So they just eat leaves?
Only leaves, yeah. That's
Okay.
their diet.
Wow, they
Strictly
must...
leaves. Yeah, go like over here. Go and see. Maybe you seen it over there, but underneath the fur, you see those are the eggs. She's a
Yeah.
female.
Huh. It's going the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think this route really offers a very interesting experience. But it is worth noting that this is far from being similar to through hikes in the United States, which I've done. So if you want culture, if you want something very different, then maybe El Camino de Costa Rica is something you should put on your list. At first, I was a little bit skeptical, but I'm really glad that I followed through with it. And thank you to my partner Joe for kind of pushing me towards this. I wanted something different, and that is definitely what I got.
Ocean Pacifico.
Wow.
266 kilometers.
What does that mean in English?
That means
Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean.
So although we did not hire a tour company or guide to help us with this trip, there are a couple places where something along those lines is required. And we did that as needed. Our first day, for instance, we stayed with Jason at the most incredible Green Gold Lodge. It is one of the most beautiful and relaxing places I've ever been. And frankly, I wish we stayed for many more days. Jason then offers a boat, which connects sections 1A and 1B. Without him, and you would have to skip this first section. Which, in my opinion, would be a ginormous mistake, as Section 1A really turned out to be one of my most favorite of the entire trip. So, thank you Jason for an amazing stay and a super fun boat trip through the back canals and rivers. So that is the Atlantic Ocean over there. We started over there on the ocean this morning. Now we're way up here, heading up into Costa Rican mountains. The second place where some form of a guide is required is within the Cabacar Indigenous territory. El Camino goes right through the center, and passage through without hiring an Indigenous guide is prohibited by law, on top of being extremely disrespectful. Fortunately, this led us to Clinette, who would walk the entire 11 miles with us through the land. He spent a good while making fun of my sandals, which I wore for this entire trip, no actual hiking shoes for me, and we loved spending time with him. He was a funny guy, he was super nice, and not only did he walk the entire 11 miles with us that day, but he walked from his home 7 miles that morning to meet up with us, and then had planned to walk back home after dropping us off at the end. And not just that, but he hiked in rubber boots, which within minutes of beginning were absolutely full of water. And even still, he seemed to glide over the land, keeping a pace that was more akin to jogging rather than walking. So thank you, Clinette. We really enjoyed seeing the place that you call home. So outside of those 2 moments, we were mostly free. Despite carrying a tent, there were no places to camp, so we still had to get in touch with locals the entire way to see if they would host us for the night. But without a guide, we could do whatever we wanted. We could walk 30 miles, or we could walk 10 miles. It didn't matter, and we liked that.
Oh yeah, you have a camera. That's
I have a little camera.
This one, right? That's it.
Stopping at little restaurants, stopping early for the rain, deciding what we wanted to do the day we would be doing it. Now, because there's nowhere really to, say, wilderness camp or stealth camp or random camp, whatever you might want to call it, you really do have to stay with people just about every day. I know you're already thinking that I'm going to bring my tent and I'm not going to do that like we were, but as you may find out as well, it's just not really possible to camp along this route. In many places, the jungle is just too thick where there's not going to be a single place to set up your tent. And in pretty much every other place, you're going to be coming across private property, and you can't really camp there either. So unless you're going to set up your tent in the very middle of the road, which I'll tell you, Costa Ricans wake up at about 3 a.m. so they can head off to work, I would bring the tent just as a safety precaution, but I would totally expect to not use it once. Now, everyone along this route uses WhatsApp to communicate, and all of the necessary phone numbers can be found in the mapping app Far Out. This made it fairly simple for us as we went, and I would say that both of these apps are absolutely essential to do this hike. Both for being able to coordinate accommodation for the night, and also for finding your own way. You need to communicate and you need to navigate. We would try to plan a few days in advance, but as we found out, the month of June and July is the rainy season for Costa Rica, and that made faraway plans a lot more difficult. If it's going to be a giant downpour for half the day, starting around noon every day, sometimes we thought maybe we'll stop a little earlier than originally planned to get out of the weather. This made coordinating with locals a little bit extra difficult, but it just was how it was for us, and in the end, never really turned out to be too much of a problem. As for the rain, both of us brought big, thick ponchos for this hike, along with travel umbrellas. And personally, I would not do this without those things. A nice rain jacket of some sort and an umbrella were such lifesavers when the sky would open up and the roads would turn to rivers. This was an everyday kind of thing for us. We had our rain gear at the ready, and we just tried to brace ourselves for it. Very wet.
Yes.
Huh.
But tasty.
Halfway. It's raining. Doing this trail in July means a lot of rain. So, yeah, halfway done. I think day like 5 or something. I'm not sure. But it's been pretty good so far. Not knowing Spanish is a little rough. July is a little rough, but we see a lot of beautiful birds. We've each probably seen 100 new species. A lot of incredible flowers and plants that are like entirely new to us, and we meet a lot of cool people. I feel it is worth mentioning that neither my girlfriend nor me know any Spanish. We can order café con leche just fine, but beyond that, and it is quite the struggle. Growing up in Florida, where there's a very large Spanish-speaking population, I'm kind of ashamed of this, but I am at least familiar with the language. Still, it is nothing that would really help me communicate on this route. I think regardless of kind of our inability to speak with the locals sometimes, things worked out just fine for us. Some interactions were a little bit of a struggle, but having Google Translate and having the offline mode downloaded to our phones really worked wonderfully. We could record people speaking and Google Translate would tell us exactly what they said. We could type a question into Translate, it would give us the Spanish, and then we could try and say that to the person. It was really a lot of fun in the end, and I think we both kind of enjoyed learning as we went. Look how big that thing is. I don't think 50 people would be enough. That is crazy. That's the biggest tree I've ever seen in my life. We both had spent a couple months prior to starting doing Duolingo, a language learning app, and I would definitely recommend that at the very least. In the end, many things are far too complicated to learn in just a couple of months' time, but being able to ask simple questions, being able to order food, buying bus tickets, and asking where we might find a bathroom went a very long way. Everyone along the trail was very friendly and willing to help, and I think they appreciated the attempt rather than coming in without any way to speak to them and without even trying. So Duolingo worked out pretty well, and then in the moment, Google Translate really took us a long way. Yes, very big climb. The umbrella has been essential on this trip. I don't think I would ever want to do this hike without. It just rains and then it stops and then it rains some more and then it stops. We have a dog showing us the way. So we're like kind of sort of at the high point of this trail. It was back there on a busy road. This is better. We'll choose this as our high point. Camino de Costa Rica, the tallest mountain or whatever you climb along this entire trail is like 7,500 feet, which for some reason I didn't really expect in Costa Rica. And last night where we slept, we were at about 7,000 feet. And it was cold. It was quite cold. We had our like quilt on top of us, and the host family we were staying with gave us like 4 blankets. So we were just totally blanketed and toasty, and it was pretty nice. But I didn't bring a sweater or any warm clothes on this entire hike. And most of that is because we're hiking this in June, July, and it's really hot every day. But last night I regretted it. So yeah, definitely should have brought a sweater at the very least. If nothing else other than just these couple sections right in the center here. So high point, Camino de Costa Rica. Very cool. 7,500 feet. Much higher than I thought. And very soon, we will see the Pacific Ocean. So we started on the Atlantic Ocean over in Peresmina and Huagoshan. And now we've almost hiked across the country, the continent, which is a little funny to say because it's only like 170 miles. But soon we'll see the Pacific. We are close. Very, very close to being done. I think 2, maybe 3 more days. So that is the Pacific Ocean. It's right there. We almost made it. Doing this trail in June was not really ideal, but it was the time that we had, and so we went for it. The vast majority of people will hike this trail in December, January, or February, as that is when the weather is the nicest. The temperatures would be cooler, the rain would be less frequent, and there would be more people out there enjoying the route, adding some camaraderie to your trip. We only wound up seeing 2 others on the entire hike, and we only met them on our very last day. Otherwise, it felt like we were the only ones out there. But this is, after all, truly the off-season. I don't really have to question what my personal favorite part about this hike was. I love the communities and seeing how Costa Ricans lived in these areas. I loved attempting to speak Spanish with the locals. I loved all of the delicious food, the scenery that was so different from what I imagined. I loved watching Jurassic Park while I was there. But what I loved most was the birds. Costa Rica has some truly fantastic birds, and they are absolutely everywhere. Every bird we saw was a new bird to us. We got good at identifying their calls and songs. We knew what all the rarest birds were, and we found all but one of them. It's not even worth mentioning them all because when things were said and done, my girlfriend and I had both seen over 150 new birds to us. So along the way, we walked the dirt roads through rural towns, we looked for birds, we marveled at the plants, and we stayed with the locals. I was surprised by how mountainous Costa Rica is. It really felt like every day was something new. As you start at the beach, you're hiking up high into the mountains, and at every new stage of elevation or altitude, the terrain, the scenery changes. Quepos! Mar Mar. So our trail started on the Caribbean, and it terminates at the Pacific Ocean. We started in the town of Peresmina, remote and far from tourism, and we finished in the town of Quepos, an extremely popular destination with a national park nearby. We hiked from ocean to ocean across the country. The trip took us a little over 8 days to walk the 280 kilometers.
It looks bigger than the others.
Yeah, it's like twice the size of the others.
What about the first one? Is it
Maybe
bigger?
it's the same size as the first one. So we have walked mar a mar, or ocean to ocean, coast to coast, across the American continent, though one of the smallest parts of the American continent. So Central America, Costa Rica, about 300 kilometers or something. Close enough. I really enjoyed my time in Costa Rica, and it certainly makes me want to do something like the Camino de Santiago in Spain someday. It also makes me want to do a lot more down in South America as a whole. Continue my Spanish learnings and see more places that aren't as often visited.